What I'm reading in your piece tells me that starting with Russia, and the Russia hoax, all the way through Jack Smith, we're talking about every incident of weaponization used against Donald Trump and how it could be part of a broader, grander conspiracy theory, a conspiracy that actually took place and law breaking involved in it. And that also the statute of limitations would not be applicable in this case as a result. And this would include names like Comey and Clapper and Brennan. Take it from there.
Yeah, and Barack Obama, too, because he was in on these early meetings. So what the FBI has done is treated the last decade of weaponization, all the great work that James Comer has turned up through his oversight committee, and put it into a timetable and said, this looks like an ongoing conspiracy, a wash, rinse, repeat cycle of Democrat gets in legal trouble. Hillary Clinton in her email case, Hunter Biden with his taxes, Joe Biden with his classified documents. They're let off the hook even when there is extraordinary evidence suggesting they shouldn't be left off the hook. And then a parallel track occurs where the Republican, in this case Donald Trump, is investigated falsely for things like Russia collusion, Ukrainian interference, his own documents at his home in Mar-a-Lago. This is a criminal conspiracy. By treating it as a conspiracy, you eliminate the 5-year statutes on individual crimes. If something happened in 2016, but it was part of an ongoing conspiracy that continued with Jack Smith raiding Donald Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago, it can be charged in the larger conspiracy, even though if you tried to charge it in an individual case, you wouldn't get it. Furthermore, you could also change the venue. Remember the troubles John Durham had bringing prosecutions to Washington, D.C.? Jurors wouldn't convict, even if they thought there was criminality going on. In this case, you could pick a place like Florida, where Jack Smith did the raid on Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago house, and say that's where we're putting the grand jury. You get a more fair jury pool, a more fair grand jury pool. It gives Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, an enormous amount of flexibility to do something historic, finally bring some accountability for all the things that Chairman Comer and Chairman Johnson, Chairman Grassley, Chairman Jordan have brought and proved to the American people.
If you can't, then it doesn't matter anyway. You will never understand it, cause it happens too fast. And it feels so good, it's like walking the glass. It's so good, so hip, it's alright. It's so groovy, it's out of sight. You can touch it, smell it, taste it so sweet. But it makes no difference, cause it knocks you off your feet. You want it all, but you can't have it. Lying on the floor, so you lay down on it and you do it some more. You got to share it, so you tear it, then you bear it, and you deserve it. You want it all, but you can't have it. It's in your face, but you can't grab it. Afraid, a lie, a sin, it's magic, it's tragic, it's a loss, it's a win. It's dark, it's noise, it's a bitter pain. It's sad, it happened, and it's a shame. You want it all, but you can't have it. It's in your face, but you can't grab it. What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? is it? Yes, sir. What is it? You want it all, but you can't have it. It's in your face, but you can't grab it.
Theme of tonight's show is accountability, and we are starting to get some recently. Our new reporting up at justthenews.com says that the FBI has opened what they are calling a grand conspiracy probe on the weaponization of government and the Department of Justice, dealing with everything from the Russian collusion hoax back in 2016 right up to Jack Smith's antics nearly a decade later. It will be investigated as a possible ongoing criminal conspiracy. A lot of things happen with that. Now, the investigation was opened several weeks ago by FBI Director Kash Patel, and now it might get a big-time boost from President Trump. They need him to declassify tranches of evidence that could signal how the 2016 Russia collusion conspiracy started. We're going to try to see if we can get President Trump on the show tomorrow night. We'll keep you posted on that. Now, remember Hillary Clinton's classified email server? That's what the first piece of evidence is related to, a classified annex to the Inspector General's probe of the Clinton email server. Now, apparently, that annex is said to show some wrongdoing was done, but it was ignored by the FBI. They didn't look at it. We'll have a guest on later in the show that can help us understand what that's all about. Second tranche of evidence also deals with Hillary Clinton, and it was identified by former Russiagate special counsel John Durham. It was placed in a classified annex also. It was dubbed in Durham's report the Clinton Plan Intelligence. So the central question is twofold. What did the government know about how Russiagate started? And when did they know it? Because if they knew it wasn't credible, that Hillary Clinton was behind it and it was just a dirty trick, and they started to investigate it anyways, it's going to be a big problem, a big part of that conspiracy. The ball is now in Attorney General Pam Bondi's court. She can decide to appoint a special prosecutor on this. And if she does and treats it like an ongoing conspiracy, the statute of limitation for old crimes goes away, and she can impanel a grand jury in a place like Florida, not District of Columbia. Why? Because Jack Smith raided President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Florida. So that'll be a big advantage for the prosecution. We'll keep you up to date on all of that at justthenews.com on these breaking topics.
Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas. Today is July 15th, 2025 at 11:09 a.m. Central Daylight Time. I'm not quite sure how much more time we have to live through this daylight savings tyranny, but from what I understand, they're giving us 8 months of daylight savings and 4 months of actual normal sun is directly overhead at noon time, you know, the way it's supposed to be. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up for me. I am also, once again, honored to be streaming to the Brian Cates X account, formerly Twitter. I'll be starting with Brian's column, of course, on the panic the amazing, delicious, strange, vexing, whatever adjective you want to use, panic that took place after Donald Trump said, what? You're talking about Epstein? Why are you talking about Epstein? Just some creep. He's a creep who won't die. Oh my God, why are you talking about, we're doing so great. Pam Bondi's so great. Okay, fair enough. I don't care myself. Whatever he's up to, he has to do it that way. And he can't tell us everything. That's how I feel about it. Now, does he know to expect the blowback? Yeah, he knows that too. He knows all of it. So without further ado, actually, I'm going to have a little bit further ado because I want to tell you about something right now. Castor blend contains 40% castor oil. And castor oil, and by the way, this is very little. This is my own personal stash. The reason it's my personal stash is because the label's on crooked. So whenever the label's crooked, it becomes like staff use. The pump bottle of castor blend, it's a magical substance. The thing about castor oil that makes it unique among all fatty acids is the ricinoleic acid. There's no other oil that contains it. It penetrates the entire epidermis. It can and it detoxifies. It can detoxify organs. And it's been suppressed by Big Pharma. You can get your hands on it, but you're going to have your, doctors who are educated in the Rockefeller system. They're going to say, well, don't get the castor oil. That's just one of those old remedies. Castor oil will change your life. Put it on your belly. It'll help digestion. You put it on your skin, it makes wrinkles over time disappear. And the thing about castor oil is it's sticky and people don't particularly enjoy it. We blend 40% castor oil and then 60% other premium oils like argan oil, amaranth oil, apricot kernel oil, sea buckthorn fruit oil, and some amazing essential oils to make this the most pleasant experience as well. Go to tulipblooms.shop where you will find right now, if you order this weekend, 15% off. That's right, 15% off of the amazing castor blend. Use promo code KATES. That's right, another 10%. And of course, when you use that promo code KATES, goes straight, 25% of that sale goes straight to the brilliant Brian Cates, possibly 20%, depending on 20%. Anyway, he gets paid. So check it out. Support Draw and Strike. Support Brian Cates. Support what we do here at Reading Epic Threads. Just support us. Yeah, Afritz12345 says, I love castor oil on my beard. We actually have a beard oil at tulipblooms.shop. It also contains castor oil. Check out the beard oil, tulipblooms.shop, promo code KATES. We've got a short column from our friend Brian. I got to make sure to pick correctly. So this is from briancates.substack.com. It's a very short column, and it was written yesterday. He might have another column up that I've skipped over. We'll get to that if it's there. In the meantime, once we're done with that, we're going to do a bunch of Eric Carlson columns and then see what happens. But hit the thumbs up. I will be interacting with chat today because I often forget to do that. So I just wanted to let you know I'm going to try to do a better job of that. So hit thumbs up, share this stream on Rumble if you can. And I want to say hi to all of you in the chat. Richard Rohrer, OG, Blue Loves, The Fear Stream. That's a nice name for a Rumble channel. The Fear Stream. Creaky Crawdad, Karma's Coming, and 50 cents. And of course, the aforementioned Afritz12345. Now, from briancates.substack.com. The reason so many top MAGA social media influencers can't see what Trump is doing is that they've never read The Art of War, one of Trump's favorite books by Brian Cates. A key component of The Art of War is the advanced strategy for a particular battle where you successfully shield your plans for the area you intend to advance on strategically and seize, while offering the enemy a far easier target of your own for him to attack that ends up pulling his defensive forces away from that key area that you want to capture. Sun Tzu said, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. The most brilliant execution of such an art of war scheme would be where the target you are offering to the enemy that now appears weak is actually one of your strongest points. Through the use of turned spies, or let's say fake leaks to the enemy that you created yourself, you manage to convince the enemy general that your strongest point on the battlefield is actually your weakest. You successfully lure the enemy general into committing his resources to an attack on the one strategic point that he will be unable to seize, no matter how many of his troops or resources he commits to this attack. He shatters his forces on your strong point, even as you move your own attacking force to his now weakened defensive position way over there, and you take it from him. A necessary part of any role that a Trump team member accepts when they agree to join this crucial fight for the future of our nation, they agree to play the role of weakened and vulnerable bait for the enemy to attack and waste their time and resources on. The reason most people can't see the show they are watching is they have the wrong folks who've never read The Art of War screaming hot takes in their ear when they don't know jack shit about what is actually going on. That's okay. All the white noise and fog of war confusion that ends up being generated as the enemy is lured onto Trump's strongest ground while Trump attacks their increasingly weaker key points and takes territory away from them redounds to Trump's benefit. And that is a beautiful thing. And don't forget Brian Cates' sponsor, tulipblooms.shop. That's tulipblooms.shop. You go to tulipblooms.shop and you use promo code Cates, the total discount on your amazing castor blend with 40% castor oil and a little smattering of the amazing sea buckthorn fruit oil. Use promo code Cates. You get 25% off of this very limited time. Monday at midnight, it's over. 25% off castor blend. Get it while it's available. Now, let's go. I'm just going to go real quick to the Brian Cates Substack, just to make sure that I didn't skip over any columns, because Brian's columns have gotten shorter with time. Hey, there's another great column that I haven't touched. Oh, no, that's not. That's a live stream. Sorry, I mixed them up. That's what happens. All right, let's make sure. Nope, these are live streams. All right, next, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that Erik Carlson wants to talk about. Guys, you got to check out my friend Erik Carlson. His Substack is Erik C. That's ERIKC.substack.com. And this article is entitled Panickin' Skywalkers. Trump is your daddy. Deal with it, by Erik Carlson. I realize that not all the people freaking out over the FBI Epstein files are real MAGA supporters. Some are paid shills, paid to turn on Trump at strategic points in time. Some are liberals pretending to be MAGA, trying to create the appearance of a splintering division within the MAGA movement. Some aren't even real people. They're straight up bots. But some really are real people who voted for Trump. And they are freaking out. In the eyes of some of these panicans, if you aren't freaking out right now, if you are as comfy as can be, you must be a blind follower. If you aren't currently slashing at your wrists with a razor blade, you must be recklessly ignorant. If you were able to climb out of bed this weekend, you must be addicted to opium. If you weren't waiting outside your doctor's office early Monday morning to get your antidepressant prescription refilled, you must be comfortably dumb. I tried to warn people a month ago in my Substack article, The Epstein Files. I told people not to get their hopes up with what would be released by the FBI. The deep state had 2.5 months after the election to scrub them clean. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they have done it a year ago after Biden crapped his pants during the presidential debate, with the deep state fully understanding that Trump would likely reside in the White House again? For that matter, why wouldn't they have wiped the files clean before Trump's first stay in the White House in 2017? What were you expecting? This isn't to say anyone is getting away with anything, just that the FBI doesn't have the receipts. They're stored elsewhere. Have a little faith. Show a little patience. It took centuries to get us where we are today. It will take more than 6 months to fix it. You can't fix 60 years of bad daily health choices in 6 months. It takes time. I know that people are saying, but Trump promised us. Really, did he? Or is that just what you wanted to hear? He said the files would be released shortly after he became president again. He didn't say that there was anything valuable in them. And no, Trump hasn't given in to the dark side. He is winning the war, using every tool and weapon available to him. If you feel as if you're getting whiplash from the quick, sudden change of directions, imagine how the deep state feels. Deception is necessary. A military doesn't give away their battle plan before they attack. This is exactly what Trump would be doing if he did exactly what he told MAGA he is going to do. These pedos will pay for their crimes. They just won't be dealt with in the manner that Trump has publicly stated. This is smart. This is how wars are won. While I enjoyed this past summer weekend with my family, I'm sure others were frantically trying to come up with answers to what is happening, feeling betrayed. While I was enjoying life as comfy as could be, some must see me as a opium addict who is too dumb to understand what's happening around me. Truth is, I do understand what is happening. While I was enjoying a Sunday evening dinner of perfectly cooked lamb, cauliflower mash, and a glass of red wine, the war is being fought. My side is winning bigly. All right, another quickie but a goodie. Our friend. Okay. Make sure that call that I got was not something that I had to attend to rapidly, and it is definitely not. Ooh, just got a delivery of 70 pounds, aka roughly 10 gallons of argan oil. That stuff isn't cheap, by the way. Brian is here. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. Don't forget tulipblooms.shop. 15% off and another 10% off with promo code Kate's Castor Blend. 25% off at tulipblooms.shop until Monday at midnight. That's right, Monday at midnight. And every time you use that promo code Kate's, you're supporting the brilliant Brian Cates and his ongoing work. That's right. Castor Blend, 40% castor oil, 60% other oils to make it, feel more luxurious, and to give you all of the skin benefits from things like argan oil, apricot kernel oil, amaranth oil, sea buckthorn fruit oil, mixed tocopherols, otherwise known as vitamin E, and of course, essential oils. It goes on my skin. Guys, you do know that I'm 142 years old, right? Okay, so I put this on my face every single day. No, for real. My wife accused me of Botoxing my forehead after I'd been putting it on my forehead for a month. It's amazing. Check it out at tulipblooms.shop. Promo code Kates. All right, we got more columns coming right up. We got my buddy Eric Carlson, erikc.substack.com, erikc.substack.com. Make sure to check that out. And here we go. Family trip to New York City, right in the middle of Pride Parade weekend, by Eric Carlson. I'm going to start off by saying this article probably isn't going to go the direction you might assume. We are all being propagandized. All of us. Propaganda works both ways. Propaganda can be used to change our values or make us believe the vast majority of people believe a certain way when, in fact, they're the minority. Propaganda can be used to misdirect us, to get us to focus our attention and angst elsewhere. But propaganda can also be used to motivate people into righteous anger, leading to action. America is experiencing a major remodel, while some in our community are demanding a total teardown. I don't think they understand how destructive and cumbersome a teardown would really be. As it is, we are avoiding complete chaos. The country's system is being systematically replaced, one piece at a time. This process is not easy. Liberal craziness is being exaggerated. What occurs on one city block in a blue city is being amplified to appear that it's happening throughout the city and throughout the region. Certain issues are being focused on while bigger issues go unnoticed. The propaganda tool is being wielded by both sides. One side using it to control and manipulate the population, while the other side is using it to wake people up. The Pride Parade. I honestly don't care what people do behind closed doors as long as it is consensual and doesn't involve children. I do have an issue with human trafficking and pedophilia. I have an issue with children being groomed. I have a problem with children being taught about sex in school. I have a problem with Christian churches putting up pride flags. I believe gays should have every right that every other person in America has. But why the flags on Christian churches? Christian churches should be biblical. In many cases today, they aren't even non-confrontational. They are anti-biblical. Yes, I get it. They're trying to be inclusive. But Christianity is already the most inclusive religion that exists. Anyone can be a Christian if they profess their faith in Christ and turn away from their sinful ways. What could be more inclusive than that? You could be of any race, any gender, come from any socioeconomic class. You can come from any religious background. No education is required. No money is needed. Just faith and repentance. The ultimate in inclusion. Have you happened to notice that since the Christian church has become more open and inclusive, fewer and fewer people are now going to church? It's as if it's been watered down so much that no one wants to consume it. What's the verse about being lukewarm? When something's lukewarm, you spit it out. How do you destroy the Christian church? You make it lukewarm. So, why the flags for the LGBTQ plus community at Christian churches? Why does no other segment of the population get a flag? There are no flags for immigrants or illegal immigrants for that matter. There are no flags for women or Asians or blacks or Italians. There are no flags for the poor and needy and meek. Again, why? Just for the LGBTQ plus community. The answer is multi-layered. But an easy component of it is to understand the LGBTQ plus community has a lot of power and influence. The more difficult component that I will try to explain later. Here's a hard concept to wrap your brain around. A person can have love in his heart for gay people and yet be repulsed by a pride parade. You can love Christianity and be repulsed by prosperity Christianity. You could be Christian and be repulsed by Christian churches having pride flags. You could be Christian and despise televangelists who prey on people. You could be Christian. You can regularly attend church. You can tithe. You can serve at a Christian church and still be concerned about the direction of the larger Christian church. In planning our family outing to New York City, we didn't realize it was Pride Month or that the largest pride parade in the world would be occurring right in the middle of our stay. But I must say, while I wanted our teenage boys to have fun and see and experience the iconic sights in the back of my mind, I also wanted them to see how bad things have become in the once greatest city in the world. A trip to the zoo to see the animals, so to speak. I fully expected the city to be a complete hellhole. I now realize I was propagandized into believing it would be much worse than it turned out to be. I'm not saying there weren't disturbing elements of our week in NYC. The Pride Parade happened in the middle of our stay. A section of the city was temporarily overrun by gay people being loud and proud, strange men wearing dresses and tutus, trans people, liberal LGBTQ plus supporters, as well as misfits who just want to be a part of a crowd, to be seen. But the city itself is not what many would have you believe. I lived in New York City in the summer of 1989. I haven't been back to NYC since 2010. My expectations for this recent visit were very low. What I discovered is that the city isn't what I've been propagandized to believe. It isn't being overrun by illegals. There isn't violence everywhere on the streets. There aren't homeless people on every block. Garbage isn't piling up, and the city doesn't smell any worse than it did 15 or 36 years ago. You experience angry young black men blasting their music on the subway because they're mad at the world. They want to anger as many people as possible. This was the case 15 and 36 years ago. You see homeless people, panhandlers, no more than in the past, though. The people of New York are generally kind of nice and helpful. Sorry if this bursts anyone's blue city bubble. Maybe it was worse before Trump took office again. I don't know. I can only report what I experienced last week. It's possible many of the illegals left when Trump first took office again. What I experienced surprised me. I live in the suburbs of a very liberal city. I know firsthand that what occurs on one city block is spread across the internet in a manner that depicts it as occurring throughout the city and throughout the region. It is pure propaganda. I'm not saying crazy stuff doesn't happen in blue cities, just that its prevalence is hugely over-exaggerated. There's a reason they don't pan the camera out. If they did, you'd see how normal things are just a block away. Total wag the dog stuff happening. Our first 2 days in New York City were surprisingly normal. The middle 2 days were quite strange. And the final 2 days in Manhattan quickly went back to normal again, to the city I remembered in the past. What happened during those 2 middle days? The Pride Parade. The Pride Parade is confined to a stretch running down 5th Avenue, cutting across 8th Street and up 7th Avenue in the Flatiron District, Greenwich Village, and Chelsea. We happened to be visiting the Empire State Building and Washington Square that day, not knowing it would be in the middle of it all. Greenwich Village and Chelsea are traditionally gay neighborhoods. What we discovered the day before is that Hell's Kitchen is now very gay as well. Hell's Kitchen has traditionally been known as a rough-and-tumble working-class midtown West Manhattan neighborhood wrought with violence and gang activity. Today, during the summer in Hell's Kitchen, you'll likely see men wearing mesh t-shirts and short shorts. Apparently, the gayer neighborhoods of Greenwich Village and Chelsea became very expensive, so the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood was gentrified. In reality, the poorer and working class were forced out, and gays moved in. Remember what I said about the power and influence of the gay population? Gentrification only seems to be a bad word when other demographics do it, specifically white heterosexual Christians. Being near the Pride Parade, you notice a strange thing. Many of the people out celebrating and taking part in it are Black. Some of them appear to be gay, but most do not. It's just using it as an excuse to party. I suppose it'd be like non-Irish people celebrating St. Patrick's Day or non-Christians celebrating Christmas. But it is hard not to notice how many Black people were taking part in the Pride Parade. Sitting next to a group of paraders at a restaurant, getting lunch near the Pride Parade was definitely the low point of my stay in NYC. The group consisted of a noticeably autistic trans person, a couple of people who appeared to be gay, and a handful of straight, liberal LGBTQ plus supporters. Having to overhear their purposely loud conversations was nauseating. I'm not saying that homosexuality is a mental disorder, but everyone at this table seemed to suffer from psychological issues. They all laughed out loud at everything each other said. It was like sitting next to Beavis and Butthead. It seemed as if they'd all had an excessive need of approval. Every conversation revolved around their families being messed up for not accepting them for who they are, and their therapy sessions required to function in society. They seemed to be starved for attention. Having already known that there is a high degree of correlation between autism and identifying as LGBTQ+, I decided to ask Grok a few questions. I found some studies showing up to 35% of autistic people identifying as LGBTQ+. One study had it as high as 70%. Up to 40% of LGBTQ+ are on psych meds. 40% have received therapy. Studies also show that 15% of autistic people are trans, as opposed to 0.5% of the non-autistic population. If I'm doing my math correctly, this would mean an autistic person is 30 times more likely to be trans than a non-autistic person. How is it possible that no one is talking about these numbers? Some of you reading this may be surprised to hear how many gay and trans people are autistic. In reality, when an autistic person is heterosexual, you likely view him as being autistic. But when an autistic person is gay or trans, you just see them as being gay or trans. You probably don't recognize their autism. Why do so many autistic people identify as LGBTQ+? More specifically, why are so many autistic people trans? Autism is categorized as a developmental disorder. Why are autistic people 30 times more likely to be trans than non-autistic people? Again, this correlation can't simply be ignored because it makes the science and medical world uncomfortable. Ignoring the fact that autistic people are 30 times more likely to be trans is irresponsible. Now, let me try to connect things further. Polls show that identifying as LGBTQ plus has greatly changed from generation to generation. A Gallup poll shows that roughly 1% of the silent generation, 2% of the baby boomers, 4% of Gen X, 10% of millennials, and 22% of Generation Z identify as being LGBTQ plus. As you can see, there was a huge jump between millennials and Gen Z. What year did the millennial generation begin? 1981. If you read my article called Rain Man, you might recall I pointed out that vaccines really took off in 1981, with more and more vaccines being given at younger and younger ages. Is there a connection between the massive jump in people identifying as LGBTQ plus and vaccines? There seems to be a strong correlation between vaccines and autism and identifying as LGBTQ plus. Is it taking it a step too far to suggest or ask the question, have vaccines contributed to the high number of younger people now identifying as LGBTQ plus? I don't think I've ever heard of anyone making this connection. If anyone has, I haven't heard about it. If there is a connection, this is a huge revelation. I'm not saying vaccines are the only reason for the increase in people identifying as LGBTQ plus, but could it be a contributing factor? I think toxins and chemicals play a role in hormonal changes in people. American men have half the testosterone they had just 50 years ago. The media have also played a major role in LGBTQ plus acceptance and glorification as well. Has this all been a giant depopulation operation, physically, psychologically, and mentally altering people to keep them from having children, whether or not vaccines, chemicals in our food, water, and environment, along with the societal acceptance and glorification of LGBTQ plus has been an intentional depopulation tactic or not? It has been effective nonetheless. Many first world countries now have negative population growth. Are we to assume the declining desire to have children, the physical inability to have children, and the glorification of childlessness is just random? Why would a species naturally evolve to have fewer children? Not having children wipes a species out. The most discouraging thing I witnessed in NYC was the preponderance of pride flags on Christian churches. All the Christian churches I walked by throughout the city were displaying pride flags, except three: the Trinity Church, the Church of Sweden, and St. Patrick's Cathedral. As I mentioned before, I couldn't care less if people are gay. I just don't think Christian churches should be displaying pride flags. Ironically, St. Patrick's Cathedral is across the street from Rockefeller Center, which had pride flags every 2 feet. Rockefeller, some may recognize them as being one of the satanic Illuminati families. Some may know that the Rockefeller family took over the medical industry over 100 years ago. Fewer know that the Rockefeller family were put in charge of controlling the Christian church in America, the American education system, as well as big medicine, all around the same time. The Rockefellers are known eugenicists, or rather, known depopulationists. Interesting. A massively wealthy, powerful, and influential family put in charge of controlling Christianity, American education, and allopathic medicine. What has happened to these three areas in the past 100 years? It seems to me they've all been used simultaneously to depopulate America and much of the world. What about Bill Gates? He has billions of dollars to enjoy his life with. And yet he spends his time and money on vaccinating people and controlling the American food supply. His family comes from this eugenics group from 100 years ago as well. He was also friends with Jeffrey Epstein, who also had a plan to repopulate the world through his own DNA. In order to repopulate it, first you have to depopulate it. Getting back to NYC. I think the city is as good as I've ever experienced it. I don't know what it was like 6 months ago or 2 years ago, but it is just as enjoyable now as it was 15 years ago or 36 years ago when I experienced it before. I feel we are being led to believe it's much worse off than it really is. But why? I think it's to get us to take further action and not be complacent. An example is this communist running for mayor of New York City. I believe he's intentionally being run out there to expose the corruption, force the complacent New Yorkers to say enough is enough. While in New York City, I overheard multiple people of Democrat demographics complaining about the possibility of a communist becoming mayor. If New Yorkers get angry fast enough, he won't become mayor. If it takes them longer to reach their boiling point, he will become mayor. But if he does, they will quickly get their fill of him and revolt. Where do I end things here? I've stated that vaccines, chemicals, and propaganda have been used not only in unison to cause autism, but to create a larger gay and trans population in America. It's all a plan to depopulate the country. Everything about the woke agenda is about depopulating America. An environment is created where you can't afford to start a family. You don't desire to have a family, or you are physically incapable of having a family. It is not a conspiracy theory to say people aren't having as many children today as they did in the past. Facts are facts. But why? Dealing with the illegal immigration problem is not that difficult. You round them up and throw them out of the country, or you convince them to leave, especially by removing incentives for them to be here illegally. Dealing with the rest, it's much more difficult. 4 to 6% of Americans will never come around. They have been broken permanently, physically, emotionally, mentally. What do you do with them? Once the chemicals that cause autism are removed, what do we do about the people who already have autism? What do we do with the trans people who have permanently destroyed their bodies? What happens when a man who now calls himself a woman transitions and later decides he's a man again? There are problems that we can't fix. In my opinion, the most crucial and difficult problem to fix is the Christian church. How do we fix a Christian church that has been infiltrated by the satanic cabal for 100 years? There's a saying, clean up your own backyard first. Why do we obsess about how others live their lives while the greater Christian church is an insult to God? Obviously, not every church goer, but the church as a whole, pride flags, lesbian pastors, prosperity lies, snake oil salesmen. The Christian church is supposed to be a beacon of society, not a reflection of it. But like America, we can't destroy it and start over from scratch. It requires a major remodel, a remodel that allows the church to remain open for business. As goes the Christian church, so goes America. We can't fix America until the Christian church becomes what it is designed to be, an institution that honors God, an institution that isn't swayed by societal pressures, an institution that leads rather than is led. As Christians, before cleaning up each other's backyards, let's start with our own. Before being appalled by the behavior of others. Let's be appalled by our own church's lack of moral conviction. Let's be offended that our church seems to sway whichever direction the wind is blowing. Fixing America starts first with fixing the Christian church. When the Christian church is a beacon on a hill, everyone benefits, whether you're gay, straight, married, single, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Russian, or Chinese. Everyone benefits when America is a country led by Christian morality. We cannot be a country led by Christian morals if the Christian church isn't leading the charge. Let's hold the Christian church accountable to higher standards than we hold others to. Let's take the Christian church back. Let's make Christianity great again. And that is the brilliant Erik Carlson supplemental to this Brian Cates stream. There are currently, as far as I can tell, viewing on Twitter 2,502. Check this out. On the Patrick Gunnels YouTube channel, there's 3 of you. On the Reading Epic Threads YouTube channel, there's 3 of you. On the Cato the Censor Facebook channel, there's 0 of you because every single time it sets it to private automatically. And then, of course, I have a Twitch channel, Reading Epic Threads. There's 1 person watching right now. Whoever you are, God bless you. All right. Anyway, let's see if there's anything else. Also, I need to make sure to check and go in here and check to see if we've got more likes. Do me a big old favor, guys. Hit the like button on Rumble. And if you send a super chat, I will read it. I have been admonished about forgetting to read super chats because I don't get that many of them. This is called the Epic Moisture Creamy Body Butter. And it's an amazing product that you can't buy. You can't buy it right now, but I still use it every single day. And I put it on my face. I put everything. All of these products can go on your face. You know how they say that, some things go on your body, some things go on your face. This is a lotion for your arms, for your feet. No, don't put this on your face. It'll clog your pores. None of my products will do that. All of them are face friendly or bald head friendly or body friendly, everything friendly. Some I think are better for your feet, but everything can go everywhere. That's one of the other amazing things about tulipblooms.shop. Make sure that you use promo code Cates for 10% off, 15% additional off on Castor Blend, the miracle elixir that heals things. I mean, it just heals your internal organs. If you don't have castor oil in your regimen, you're wasting your life, essentially. Tulipblooms.shop, promo code Cates. All right, what else we got? Because if we don't have any more Erik Carlson, then I got good news for you because we got more stuff. Let's see. Family trip to New York City. I'm pretty sure there's a, yep. I did not read this column ever from Erik Carlson. And so, once again, don't forget to go to Eric's Substack. Now, those of you who are watching who are not subscribed to briancates.substack.com, go there right now. Subscribe. Just hit subscribe. It's free. Same with ericc.substack.com. erikc.substack.com. Subscribe to his channel as well. I also want to give Eric a big congrats for one of his tweets going viral. Kind of stoked about that too. All right. Let's see if there's anything panicky happening in business world. Yeah, 70 pounds of argan oil just got delivered. We have reception though. I don't have to go get it or anything. Thank God. All right. I think we're good. Let's keep on going. I have a new we're this close to me having a new advertiser for Tulip Blooms. And I'm really excited about it. And we'll talk about that soon. Corey Burge asks, you got hemorrhoid cream? It's a damn fine question. We don't have hemorrhoid cream. Let me just real quick. I'm going to ask ChatGPT a question, though. What makes hemorrhoid cream hemorrhoid cream? Hemorrhoid. I don't have to spell it right. What makes hemorrhoid cream work? Okay, so let's find out, shall we? And I've got this on supposedly okay, so vasoconstrictors like phenylephrine, local anesthetics like lidocaine, protectants like basically, we have people. If you heard that doorbell, we have people to answer that doorbell. We have 2 people working right now, so we should be fine. It's probably the male, but it's awfully early for the. Anyway, astringents, corticosteroids. Yeah, I can't do any of those. So I stay away from things that you would consider to be pharmaceuticals. So there's nothing wrong with astringents, witch hazel, calamine. So yeah, long story short, no, we do not have hemorrhoid cream, and we have no plans to have hemorrhoid cream. All right, let's go ahead and hop over to the latest column from the brilliant Erik Carlson. Not the latest column, actually. He wrote this July 4th. But it didn't have a little heart on it, which means I didn't read it. ericc.substack.com. 9/11. Was this the beginning of the end of the deep state? By Erik Carlson. How much significance do you give certain numbers like 17 or 11:11 or 12:12 or 12:34 or 666 or 777 or 9/11? Q is the 17th letter of the alphabet. 17 has come up a disproportionate number of times since late 2017, especially by Trump himself. It seems so obvious that it's intentional, but for some people, it doesn't seem odd or out of the ordinary when he uses it 10 times in a 2-minute interview. In fact, Trump could probably just repeat the number 17 over and over for 2 minutes straight, and some people wouldn't even notice. Huh? What? He said 17? I'm not a numerologist. I don't try to find meaning in every number I see. I don't assign letters to numbers to come up with words. I'm not saying I have anything against people who do. It's just not something I've personally placed a lot of faith in. Following the financial collapse that kicked off in October of 2008, the S&P 500 reached its bottom in March of 2009 at 666 points. After bottoming out at 666, we had a pretty speedy recovery in the stock market. Some called it a V recovery. It basically came up as fast as it had gone down, happening in the shape of a V. Even though much of the stock market recovered quickly, the general economy continued to fall. People were still losing their jobs. The housing market didn't reach its bottom until late 2011 or early 2012. I believe the S&P 500 bottoming out at 666 was the cabal letting us know, or letting someone know, that they have total control. Don't mess with them. But who was messing with them in 2008? I'm sure 99% of the people in the financial industry didn't even realize the S&P bottomed out at 666. And if they had realized it, 99.9% of them wouldn't even think it was a message from the cabal. Most people in the financial industry think the stock market rises and falls based purely on things like jobs reports and companies' earnings reports. Yes, they believe there's some corruption, but most are completely oblivious to why the market really moves the way it does. The cabal makes money crashing the market, but they can't afford to keep it down too long. I wonder to whom the cabal was sending the message when they bottomed out the S&P 500 at 666. As we all know, no one was fighting to save the country until Trump came down the escalator 10 years ago. Sarcasm intended, but this is not a knock on Trump, but rather a suggestion that this plan to save the world goes back further than a mere 10 years. In fact, Trump has been in this fight himself for decades. I don't know about you, but I seem to see the numbers 1111 and 1212 and 1234 a lot when I look at clocks. Maybe it's just because I'm looking for it now, but it happens too often not to notice. Some people say that when you see these numbers, it means that you're going through a spiritual awakening or something to that effect. I don't know what to make of it, nor do I expect anyone to find significance in it. It's funny. I'm at a point in my life where I am so confident in my sanity that I don't mind sharing thoughts that could potentially cause you to question it. I don't mind having a conversation with someone and seeing in their eyes that they're scanning the room for the nearest exit. At a social gathering, I'm not afraid to keep talking even after I get that second handshake, politely letting me know they don't want to hear anymore. Truthfully speaking, some of these second handshakers now call me whenever something out of the ordinary happens, not asking me what I think is happening, but asking me what is happening. Sometimes I get calls from people letting me know that what I said would happen happened. In other words, I'm not afraid to speak the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it makes people or how it might negatively impact me. I live in a very liberal area, and I've come to realize that a lot of the people are actually closeted conservatives. Once I start spouting off truth, many people quietly say to me, "Oh my gosh, I feel the same way. I'm just too afraid to say anything." I'm sure in Iran, people say almost the same thing. "Oh my gosh, I feel the same way. I'm just too afraid of being killed or thrown in prison for saying it." Getting back to the whole 17 thing, I remember going to my older son's music concert when he was in middle school. They were performing at the local high school. This was sometime between Trump first being elected and the COVID craziness. With everyone quietly sitting in the auditorium, a girl who appeared to have Tourette's or something like that started blurting out every few minutes, "Meow, whoop, 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 17. She just kept doing it over and over again. No one told her to be quiet. People seemed to understand something was wrong with her. It's kind of a running joke in our family for years. Meow, whoop, 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 17. I didn't realize at the time that Q was the 17th letter in the alphabet. When people in the Q community started using the number 17 instead of saying Q to avoid ridicule and algorithmic shadow banning, I immediately thought, whoa, the girl at the concert. I have no idea why she continually repeated that one number and that one number alone. But it was strange, to say the least. I do believe that if we empty our minds of constant outside distractions and distortions and listen, not because we are necessarily trying to listen, but because we are now able to hear, we are given clues or warnings or are being foretold through things like dreams and patterns and random thoughts. The problem is that we tend to have so much distortion and distractions going on in our minds that we can't recognize or hear the signs we are given. Back in September of 1995, I noticed a pattern. And mind you, I was completely asleep at that time in my life. Actually, the year before, I had given my life to Christ. So maybe I wasn't quite as asleep as I'm portraying myself to have been. Anyway, whenever I would do cardio at the gym, I'd always look at the timer on the cardio equipment at exactly 9:11. 9 minutes and 11 seconds. Whether I was doing the treadmill, the Stairmaster, the cardio glide, or the incumbent exercise bike, I always glanced at the timer at exactly 9:11. I noticed it after a couple of weeks and wrote it off as just being the point where I start to get tired. And that's why I'd look at the timer at that time. But every time. After about a month of this happening literally every time, I stopped wondering about the significance of it and I just moved on from trying to figure it out. I moved on from thinking about what it meant, but it still kept occurring every single cardio session. I suppose it would be the equivalent of living in a haunted house. Eventually, you just get used to the strange happenings and move on with your life. I was too embarrassed to mention it to anyone. I thought they might think it was a bit crazy. This happened to me every time I did cardio, 5 or 6 days a week until 9/11, 2001. We all know what happened that day. Once I got beyond the shock of what happened on that day, I immediately thought about how I had been seeing 9/11 every day at the gym for the past 6 years. Strangely, even after the Twin Towers fell, I was able to play it off as just being kind of weird. I recognized that I had seen 9/11 every day on the cardio equipment for 6 years, and then 9/11 happened. I recognized that it was strange, but I didn't do anything with the information. I didn't know what to do with it. Fast forward to today. For the past few months, I've been seeing 8:04 every day, sometimes twice a day. When I look at my watch or phone or computer, having already experienced what I experienced with 9/11, I began to wonder what 8:04 is all about. 8/4 is my birthday. That could be why I recognize it popping up so often, but 8/4 is also Barack Obama's birthday. Knowing this, I've been wondering, is something going to happen on 8/4? Or are revelations about Obama going to occur soon? I've been thinking about the Q drop that says something to the effect of the first arrest will shock the world. Will it be Obama? I can't say I'd be disappointed if it was. Back to 9/11. When the planes hit the towers, I took it all in, hook, line, and sinker. I heard the news that 20 Saudi citizens pulled off the hijacking with just box cutters, and I accepted the need to invade Iraq and Afghanistan in retaliation. Not that it ever really made sense. I just accepted it just the same. I think it took the better part of a decade before I began to question any part of the official 9/11 narrative. Today it seems laughable, but then accepting it meant I didn't need to think, I didn't have to stand out, and I wasn't forced to lose all trust in the media and in government. It's easier to believe the mainstream narrative, even if that narrative makes no sense. Something I hadn't really considered until recently is that believing the official mainstream media story on any matter means you don't need to seethe and be angry from the understanding that you're being lied to. While it's good to know the truth, it makes you angry when you know you've been lied to. Without asking Grok or Google, I would assume 9/11 occurred somewhere around the peak percentage of homes having a cable TV. I know I had it, and I think I was never without it the prior 20 years. I continued to have it another 10 to 12 years after 9/11. Interestingly, if I do my math, when I cut my cable in 2012 or 2013, it's probably around the time I started to question the 9/11 narrative, as well as other narratives. Obama began to annoy me even more. Was the spell beginning to wear off? Is this the way it works? Do we need constant exposure to remain brainwashed? If the exposure to mainstream media narratives starts to lessen, do they lose control over our minds? If they aren't constantly waving their hand in front of our faces or swinging a watch telling us that they were getting very sleepy, do we begin to wake up from the trance? Do we start to see through the mind control and start to question the narratives? It took me another 5 years after cutting the cable to wake up fully. So maybe there's a detox process that has to occur to fully rid yourself of the mind control. Even though I no longer had cable, I was still exposed to the narratives, not to the extent of many others, but exposed nonetheless. I would think most people reading this believe, like I do, that 9/11 didn't really occur the way it has been portrayed. In reality, it was probably planned out for decades, and it was determined that 9/11/2001 was the day the cabal would finally plunge the knife into the heart of our personal freedoms while setting the stage for the thought police to capture our minds. But what if this event that affected so many also ushered in a Trojan horse? What if opening up their castle gates to allow their armies out to wreak havoc on us also allowed some white hats to sneak in while the gate was still open? Could the cabal have been infiltrated? Recently, I noticed there were a lot of attacks on Palantir being made in the media and alternative media. It seemed as if the attacks came out of nowhere. One day, nothing. Then the attacks, next day, everywhere. Needless to say, it didn't appear genuine. It didn't appear organic. It made me wonder why it seemed all the right people were attacking Palantir. Palantir must be doing something that has the deep state scared. Not knowing much about Palantir at the time, other than its stock price being up 775% in the past 2 years, I wanted to understand it a little better. I discovered that Palantir was founded in 2003 in the aftermath of 9/11, emerging from PayPal's anti-fraud detection technology with a goal of combating terrorism and financial crime. Early funding of the company came from a CIA venture capital company. Palantir began to work with agencies like the FBI, the CIA, ICE, and NSA in fighting terrorism before it happens. If it sounds a little like the Tom Cruise movie Minority Report, the movie came out a year before Palantir began. Predictive program much? Palantir could essentially predict future events based on massive amounts of data collected and analyzed. Observing Consciousness has done some excellent in-depth work on Palantir on Substack. That's Observing Consciousness, not Substack.com. For my purposes, I'm trying to keep things very high level. While the government agencies could use this advanced technology to find the bad guys, they could also use it to spy on anyone who may oppose their power. The thing that they probably didn't consider is the fact that if this technology found its way into the hands of their opposition, it could be turned around to spy on them. In short, through Palantir technology, I believe the white hats have collected all the receipts. As in, game over for the deep state cabal. For the past 2 decades, I believe Palantir technology has been used to keep track of all the potential terrorists as well as all of the wrongdoings of the deep state that controls them. Have you ever wondered how Q could have pictures of John McCain meeting with the leaders of ISIS? Doesn't seem like the kind of thing old No Name would be sharing on Facebook. Does it seem odd how quickly and easily Trump and the team have been able to round up violent criminals who entered the U.S. illegally during Biden's term, or rather Trump's silent term? ICE has been very effective in apprehending these violent illegals that we were told couldn't be tracked once they entered America. It's interesting that we have been enthralled by the information that the Q team has shared with us, but most of us haven't really thought about how they got access to the information that they've shared. Did the deep state finally figure out they're being spied on through Palantir? Did Trump tell them? Is this the reason they started going after Palantir just a few weeks ago? Whatever the case, the war is over. The White Hats have full control. They have all the receipts. At this point, it's a game of cat and mouse, where a cat bats around a mouse purely for entertainment. Trump is batting around the deep state to wake people up. The deep state has no escape. Maybe they believe there's still a move left, but there are none. Enjoy the show. ericc.substack.com. ericc.substack.com. erikc.substack.com. And of course, briancates.substack.com. That's right. You wonderful people. Just a big thank you to Brian Cates. I opened this show with a Brian Cates column. It was relatively short, so I supplemented it with the brilliant Erik Carlson. Don't forget, we are running a special on castor blend. This is a magical substance. This is 40% castor oil and then 60%. Now, notice this is my personal stash, so it's running out. But my forehead has been the biggest beneficiary, but my gut as well. When it goes into your skin, it goes into your tissues in general. It is a general therapy for the body. Feet, hands, underarms, lymph nodes, everywhere. Get this stuff all over you. And right now at tulipblooms.shop, using promo code CATES, you're getting 15% off automatically and then 10% more from promo code CATES. Bam! 25% off of Castor Blend this weekend only. Take advantage while you can. This stuff ain't cheap. Take advantage of the discount. If you don't have this stuff in your regimen, you are just passing by one of the great unsung heroes of human health. That's tulipblooms.shop. A promo code CATES. And don't forget, you can do me a big favor right now, all of you wonderful peeps. Follow me on Twitter if you can. I'd appreciate that enormously. pgunnels1. That's pgunnels1 on Twitter, aka X. Follow me on Rumble if you're watching on Twitter. That's pgunnels on Rumble. And for those of you watching elsewhere, thank you so much. Share this with your friends if you can. Don't forget to follow, if you don't already, on Substack, Brian Cates, just briancates.substack.com. And of course, the brilliant Erik Carlson as well, erikc.substack.com, erikc.substack.com. Look at this. Hey, eMatch25, nice. Thank you. Big thank you. All right. Brilliant. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I guess, wow, over an hour. This really flew by. I am going to be on the D-Class show in 42 minutes on the Joe Rambo News Treason channel. It'll be a gas, so don't forget to tune in 42 minutes. I will be joining their show. And after that, I'm heading off to go do a dance lesson. I've got a digital piano right here. I'm wondering if I could show you. Look at that. It's a mess, but I just got a digital piano. I'm teaching myself how to play the piano so I can teach my son how to play the piano so that he's good at age 5 instead of, assaulting our ears. Whatever happened to the Reading Epic Threads coins, Patrick? I have them. Richard Rohr asks, what happens to our coins? We have them. I have them at Flexport. I need to get them sent back. We're going to figure it out. Don't worry. I need to sell those coins, but who wants to buy a challenge coin from an event that's already taken place? I don't know. They're really nice challenge coins. In any event, I have been running my mouth too long. Thank you so much, everybody. I love having this many people watching on Twitter. And let us pray. And sorry for not doing this show for so long. I've been out there product developing, believe you me. All right, let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.
Created.